Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist. Today I'm going to be doing a Dream Mirror deck profile, which you guys have been requesting of me left and right. So I'm actually going to be doing this one. It's a really fun deck, and it's actually relatively budget, I have to say, because the extra deck is something that you kind of just play whatever you feel like you need, which really cuts down on the cost of the deck, and everything in the deck is either ultra rare or lower for the majority of the Dream Mirror stuff, which makes it really budget. And the majority of the stuff is actually super rare or lower, except for, I believe, 4 cards in the actual main deck, which is really awesome. This deck is actually a TCG exclusive, so I'm really excited to show you guys this. But without further ado, let's get straight on this. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and let's get straight on into this. But as long as you're playing basically the Urkling, you're going to be alright in the extra deck, until we get new support. So we're going to be playing 3 copies of the Dream Mirror Sprite, the light Dream Mirror Sprite. Basically, a little bit of backstory before we get into this deck profile completely. Basically, what you do with this deck is if you control the Dream Mirror of Terror, let's see. These are the 2 field spells. If you control this one and you control a light one, you can tag out the light one to summon the dark one. If you control the dark one, if you control like a dark monster and you have the light one, you can tag out this to summon this. They tag out to summon each other in a nutshell. That's the quick way the deck works, because a lot of people think this deck is really complicated, and it's really not. You just tag out depending on which mirror you have on the field. So basically what the sprites do is that if this card is special by the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, you get to add a Dream Mirror card from your deck to your hand, pretty much the searcher. And then during your main phase or battle phase, if a Dream Mirror of Terror is on your side of the field, you contribute this card to special summon 1 copy of Yugioh, the Dream Mirror Mara, from your deck. Basically, again, you have Terror on the field, you tag it out, you special summon the dark version. The dark version is, if this card is special summoned by the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, you can special summon a Dream Mirror monster from your hand. So it instantly puts another monster on your side of the field, which is really good for link material or going into the Urkling with the fusion monster, which is really cool. 2 copies of Morpheus, the White Knight. If it's special summoned, you can activate this effect. This card cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effects this turn. And during the main phase, if you have Terror on the field, you can tag it out, summon the dark Black Knight. 2 copies of the Black Knight, which is hands down my favorite one of all the Dream Mirrors. Like, all the dark ones look really cool to me. Like, I always have been, like, into the dark side of the Dream Mirrors. Like, they're really cool. And I have to say, they're, like, some of my favorite cards recently to be released. But basically, what the Black Knight does is that if this card is special summoned by the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, you can target a card on the field and destroy it. And then during your battle phase or your main phase, if you come to have Dream Mirror Joy, you can switch it out for the light one. 2 copies of the Dream Mirror Friend. Dream Mirror Friend, basically, if this card is special summoned by the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, you can target a level 8 or lower Dream Mirror monster in your grave, except another copy of itself, and then special summon it in defense position. So it lets you special summon them, and they have their effects trigger as well, because you did special summon them with the effect of a Dream Mirror monster. Then we play 3 copies of the Dream Mirror Foe. If it's special summoned by the effect of a Dream Mirror monster, it can attack directly. That is really good, because it is a 1900 beat stick that you just instantly hit your opponent with 1900, which is really awesome and really good. So it's really awesome to be able to play this deck, and it's a super fun deck, and I highly recommend if you guys want a really fun budget deck to carry with you, this is it. And it's going to keep getting support. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Not a lot of monsters. We don't have a lot of monsters actually released for Dream Mirror so far, but we have searchers in the deck to make it up for the lack of monsters in the deck. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn, because you can bring back your Dream Mirror monsters, like your Black Knight, which is usually your big beat stick, to be able to go at your opponent with. 1 copy of 1 for 1, again, kind of makes up for the lack of monsters. Lets you special summon out the Dream Mirror sprites. 1 copy of Terraforming to search your Dream Mirror's field spells. 3 copies of Called by the Grave, because you do not want to get hand trapped in this deck. Like, I cannot emphasize that enough. Like, I don't play hand traps in the deck because there's so many Dream Mirror cards that you need to play 3 ofs, or 2 ofs, or 1 ofs in the deck. Like, you really need to stop your opponent from hand trapping you. Like, I would not be surprised if the deck turns into a 60 card deck after we get more support in this build. 3 copies of Dream Mirror of Chaos. This is basically the fusion spell. You can fusion summon a Dream Mirror fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you control as fusion material, and if a Dream Mirror of Joy is in your field spell zone, you can use monster from your hand. If Dream Mirror of Terror is in your hand, you can banish monster from your graveyard instead. So during early game, you want the light one on the field, you want Joy on the field, so you can fusion some from hand. If later in the game, like turn 2, and at this point turn 2, you want to have Terror on the field, so you can actually get the ability to, be able to just instantly fuse from the grave to summon Urkling. 3 copies of Dream Mirror Phantasms. Phantasms is probably the best card in the entire deck, besides the Dream Mirrors themselves. When it's activated, you get to add a Dream Mirror from your deck to your hand. And if Dream Mirror Joy is on the field, all your monsters gain 500 attack. And if Dream Mirror Terror is on the field, all monsters your opponent control lose 500 attack. Really good to be able to put that gap. And it's really good to be able to stack it too, because if you can only activate it once per turn, but if you activate like multiples of these, you're gonna want to activate multiples of these because it's basically like the E-Call, the Rhoda of the deck. You're gonna want to stack it, and you can make a big gap in between yours and your opponent's attack points. For the field spells, which the deck is based around, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Dream Mirror of Joy and 3 copies of Dream Mirror of Terror, which have some of the best artworks, in my opinion, in recent history. Dream Mirror of Joy's effect is during the end phase, you can banish it to activate a Dream Mirror of Terror directly from your hand or deck. Then you only use this effect once per turn, and then Dream Mirror monsters you control cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects or their monsters' attacks except for Dream Mirror monsters with the highest level. So it protects your low-level Dream Mirror monsters from being attacked if you control higher-level Dream Mirror monsters. So it protects your sprites and friend and foe and Mara if you have the Knights on the field, or Urkling on the field. And then the effect of Dream Mirror Terror lets you tag it out to put Dream Mirror Joy on your field, and then you can only choose the effect, you can only use the effect of it once per turn, and once per turn, each time your opponent special summons a monster, you can inflict 300 points of damage to your opponent, and this effect only applies while you control a dark Dream Mirror monster. Basically, you have to control a light or a dark version of them, which you can thin the deck by tagging them in and out quite a lot during your end phase. So you tag it out, like if you have Joy on the field and you want to keep Joy on the field, you can tag out Joy and put Terror on the field, and then tag Terror out and put Joy back on the field, and it thins the deck so you don't draw them out of your deck, or draw them next turn, so you don't have too many of them, which is really a big help. And you play 7 field spells in the deck. You really don't want to draw them. So you want to draw like 1. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into traps. The traps is where the deck starts really, really, really thriving. We played 2 copies of Trap Trick because you really want to get to the traps as quickly as possible. 1 copy of Dream Mirror Onirmisi, I think. I'm probably butchering that, but Onirmisi. When your opponent activates a spell card while you control Dream Mirror Joy, you can negate the activation if you destroy it. And then when your opponent would special summon a monster while you control Dream Mirror Terror, you can negate the summon if you do destroy it. Again, I really want to play this at more than 1, but at the moment I'm just playing it at 1. If you can find room, play it at more than 1. It's a really good card. 2 copies of Fantasy. Dream Mirror Fantasy is interesting because if you control a Dream Mirror monster, you can target 1 each of your banished Dream Mirror of Joy and Dream Mirror of Terror. Shuffle them in the deck. When you do, you get to banish a card on the field. And then if a Dream Mirror monster you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So it protects your Dream Mirror monsters and put your Joy and Terror back in your deck. And then 3 copies of Dream Mirror Hypnagogia. I'm probably butchering that too, but I'm going to just go with Hypnagogia. You choose a Dream Mirror of Joy and a Dream Mirror of Terror and put 1 on your opponent's side of the field and put 1 on your side of the field. So you can get both boost effects off of all of your Dream Mirror cards at all times. This card is crazy, and that's why you play 2 copies of Dream Mirror or Trap Trick, because you're basically playing 5 copies of this, and you just need to resolve it once. If your opponent's not playing a field spell deck, they're in a bad place, because you're just going to put them both on the field and get so much advantage that it's not going to matter at that point. Because if you, this is probably, and I know I'm about to sound cliche, but this deck has one of the funniest mirror matches, because it's literally mirrors, and you look at your opponent and be like, which one are you going to put on the field, Joy or Terror, so we can get the big boosts. Like, this deck is so fun in mirror matches, it's ridiculous, because the deck doesn't really shine until you're in a mirror match, which is so cliche for this deck. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, you can play Pot of Extravagance in the main deck, but I wanted to go for more of a budget build of the deck, so I didn't play Pot of Extravagance in the deck. But pretty much besides the Urkling, the entire extra deck is a suggestion. You can play anything you want in the extra deck. Anything that you can get your hands on that you can actually make in the extra deck, you can play. Which is really interesting about the deck. Some people are going into this deck and only playing 3 Urklings, and that's it, which makes the deck really budget, like I said at the beginning of the video. So first off, we're going to be playing the 3 copies of the Urkling, which is pretty much the entire extra deck. You basically have the ability that you can fusion summon this card with 2 different attributes of Dream Mirror monsters. You have fuse a dark and a light one to make the Urkling, which, fun fact, an Urkling is also known as the King of the Elves or the King of the Fairies, which is pretty interesting. Just a side note. When this face-up card is on the field, it's also counted as a dark attribute, and if another monster you control is tributed, you can target a card on the field and destroy it, and then if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon a Dream Mirror monster from your graveyard. But basically, it's the big beat stick of the deck, and it's really, really good. Like, it seems underwhelming, but it's not. It every turn can pop something, and it can also use its ability to be able to have a 3,000 attack point monster. And if you have the Phantasms on the field, then it becomes 35 with a gap between 500 and one of your opponent's monsters. So it basically comes out at 3,500. Boral Sword's another card that you can make. I don't see you making Link 4s in this deck very much, but it's an option. The Blackluster Soldier, because we do play the Knights. This is an option to go into. Unicorn, because you can spin stuff. Phoenix, because you can pop stuff. Pop back row. And then Cerberus, because you can pop monsters. Linkriba, because the sprites and Mara are both level 1. So it is an option to go ahead and just link them away to summon Linkriba if you need to. Hope Harboring Dragon, Titanic Galaxy, because your Knights are both... they're both level 8, so you can go into this if you need to. And then for the rank 4s that I play in this deck, I play a copy of Baguska, because you have the option to go into Baguska, and it just stops your opponent while you're trying to get your Dream Mirror set up. Evil Sworn Exciton Knight, another option if you want to blow a board. Daigusto Emerald, because you can shuffle your Dream Mirrors back into the deck. Abyss Dweller, because you can shut down your opponent. And then Lambita is here because of the Link Arrows. Like, this is the one that I would actually play, because you can actually summon 2 Urklings if you want to. But if you have something that has generic Link Arrows that point down, I would highly recommend that you play that. You can play Beat Cop in this position. You can play this. You can play the land, whatever the land was that has 1,200 attack. I wouldn't play that. If I had Lambia, I'd play Lambia or Beat Cop. That's just my opinion. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this one. Like I said, the extra deck is kind of like a suggestion, like waving, an ingredient over a dish. You kind of have the option if you want to play it, but you don't have to. Like, this is pretty much the extra deck. Like, if you just had this, you could go in with this extra deck. Like, this is all you really have to have. Everything else is kind of like what you want instead of what you need. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's a really fun deck that I highly recommend that you guys definitely try. It's fun to play around with, and it's budget. Like, that's the key selling point to me about this deck. It's really, really, really budget. Like, less than $40 you can get this deck. Like, I don't think there's anything in the deck that's more than $5. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below. Hit that bell and the second part of notification squad, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.